Chapter 14, Health Promotion of the School-Age Child and Family. This is school age, so runs from approximately age 6 to 12, or you could say when they begin school, or you could say when they start losing their teeth, and then it ends around puberty or about the time they have all their permanent teeth in, except for their wisdom teeth. So they slow down on growth and development during this age. So they only gain a couple of inches per year and 2 to 3 kilos per year. Boys and girls are about the same size. This is the age of the loose tooth. It seems like they're always working on a wiggly one and losing teeth. Their systems become a lot more mature. Their bladder capacity is increased. So if you have a young, early potty trained child, you feel like you're having to go to the bathroom all the time because they have a small bladder. So they finally have gotten where they have a little bit more capacity and you're not needing to go to the restroom quite as often. The GI system is more mature, so they don't complain of a stomach ache as much, or when they're younger, everything causes a stomach ache. So now it really just is when there's something wrong in the GI system. They have more stable blood glucose, which allows them to go longer between meals. And they have a larger stomach capacity, so they can eat a larger meal, which also helps in going longer between meals and not needing all those frequent snacks. Their immune system is becoming more mature, so they don't get sick as often, but their bones are continuing to ossify, so their bones are not complete yet. Our developmental theorists, Freud calls this the latency period, and that's because they tend to have same-sex friends during this period. Erikson calls it industry versus inferiority. And during this stage, they are learning lots of new skills, and they're excited about their new skills. So they are eager to develop those new skills. Those new skills help them to get a sense of personal as well as interpersonal competence. They can do new things alone or with other people and have developed interpersonal skills from that. These skills are useful. They're able to be a contributing member in their family, in their classroom, in their friendship group. And all of that helps them in developing this sense of independence as well. They no longer rely on their parents as much to do things for them. They can carry a task through to completion. And they get a great sense of accomplishment from all these new things that they're learning and doing. And so here's a girl learning to complete a task on her own, and some boys working together to complete a task. So Erikson says that what they're trying to avoid in this age is inferiority, and those feelings can come from their self or from the social environment they're in. And they can occur when they are incapable or unprepared for the task or the responsibility that they were trying to do. So when they don't master that task, they can feel a sense of inferiority. But he also says all children to some degree will have sometimes a feeling inferiority, because there are going to be tasks out there that they can't quite do or can't quite do yet. So ensuring that they move on and don't just stop there, that they keep learning new tasks that they are successful at, and then come back and try those ones that were too difficult for them, because they will get them later on. Piaget calls this concrete operations, and they're finally able to use thought processes to experience events and actions. Up till now, they pretty much needed to see it and touch it to understand it. So now they can finally think about it. They also can see from another's point of view. They're not quite so egocentric. They have an understanding between the relationships of things and ideas. Again, this is being able to use thoughts rather than just needing the actual physical things to use your senses. They can make judgments using reason, and this is conceptual thinking. So again, they're starting to be able to think and it's not just, manual needing to touch and work with it. The idea of conservation is an important one in Piaget's theory. This is understanding that mass does not necessarily change just because the size and the shape does. A young child, you give them the tall, skinny glass of juice, and they think you gave them extra juice. You give them the short, wide glass, and they think you gave them too little, even though the two glasses hold the same amount. This concept of conservation means they understand that the same amount of juice looks different in the tall, skinny glass rather than the short, wide glass. Classifications. They're starting to group things by attributes, and this age kid loves collections. They love to collect. If you listen to the McDonald's commercials, they say, collect all of them. Oh, they are marketing to this age kid because they love collecting, and if they can collect the whole set, that's what they want to do. They now can read and tell time, which is really convenient. At the hospital, we can put things in writing for them, or tell them based on a clock what time something will happen. Here's a kid who likes to collect action figures and wrestlers. Kohlberg tells us about moral development, and he says at this age they're starting to develop conscience and moral standards. So at the beginning of this stage, 6 to 7 years old, they still see things as right or wrong. An action is always right or it's always wrong. As they get a little older, school age, they now can understand the motivation or the intention behind it. So if a child borrows your toy and it gets broken, the 6 or 7-year-old would say, well, that was wrong. He borrowed it and it broke. Where an older child could say, it was an accident. I know he didn't do it on purpose, so it's not entirely wrong. So that's that increasing ability there. Rules and judgments become more founded on the needs and desires of others. Again, they're not so I was going to say self-centered, but egocentric. They're not as egocentric. They can understand the needs and desires of others. And at this age, they really do like rules. They're part of a family. They're part of a classroom. They're part of a club or a sports team, and they believe in following those rules. Spiritual development. These kids are very eager and interested to find out about the God that their family believes in. They do think in concrete terms, though, when it comes to spiritual things, so they're picturing God as, like their grandfather in the sky. They expect that misbehavior is punished, and unfortunately, sometimes at the hospital, they'll feel like they deserve whatever happened to them because of something they did wrong. So we want to reassure them of and try and relieve them of that guilt. Socially, they are learning from being around other kids. Some of it good and some of it not. They're learning how to deal with kids who are different. Maybe there's some dominance. A child is more dominant, or some hostility develops. They learn how to work through that. They're learning how to relate to people who are in authority. They're teachers and principals. They're also having a chance to explore different ideas and get out and explore the environment, because they're separating from the family, running around the schoolyard, going to other people's homes. They love groups and clubs. They join them. They develop them. They learn good lessons from being around others. They can learn other points of views. They can become sensitive to people who aren't like them, or people who don't fall within the social norms. And they form very deep and valuable friendships. So here they are with some friends. Bullying is a problem at this age. To bully means to inflict physical or psychological abuse, and where this happens is frequently at school in unsupervised times and locations. Bullies, there is a typical behavior pattern to bully. They're usually defiant towards adults, a bit antisocial. They will break school rules. Boys tend to bully more physically, where girls it's psychologically, so spreading rumors. There's also a typical victim, and this is the child who somehow is different from the norm. Something sets them apart, so they're not like the other kids. And then when you add bullying to that, they can develop a long-term depression and low self-esteem. So we really are trying to make schools a safe place, but we've got to watch those unsupervised times and places. Parents are still the biggest influence on kids during this age, shaping the child's personality, their behaviors, their value systems. Even though school's becoming important, the parents still are the primary influence. The task of this age is for kids to start separating a little bit from their parents and doing things a little bit on their own. I think in some ways that's harder on the parents than the child. But the children are not ready to be totally on their own. They still need their parents. They still need rules to follow. Playing, they do like those rules and rituals at this age. So this soccer team may always do a certain chant beforehand or make a tunnel that they run through after. Team play, they like competition at this age. And that active play is good, as is quiet games and play. They like collecting things, board games, computer games, card games, reading are all good quiet activities. And at this age, play can help them imagine and feel big and powerful and accomplish great things. So here's some team play. So they're developing a self-concept at this age, and they are aware, they're consciously aware of how they look to others, both physical, their abilities, their values, what others think of that, their idea of self in relation to others, again, that how others they are aware of how others see them, they're aware of their body image, their sexuality, they're developing their self-esteem, and they're especially aware of anything that is a little bit different and not within the norm. And adults are still important in their lives. Developing body image, usually kids get more and more bothered by their body the older they get. So that's something for us to work on trying to minimize. Coping with concerns. School, next to the parents, this is the most important socializing event of their life. And we have a lot of kids who are home alone for a lot of time in the afternoon, latchkey children. So we want to be careful. This is unsupervised time, right? This is where bad things can happen. Kids still need limits. They still need discipline. And it does need to be appropriate, though. So the crime and the punishment need to be at the same level. Dishonest behavior is very common during this age. Kids try out lying, cheating, and stealing and need to be punished when it happens, but again, it needs to be appropriate punishment. Stress and fear are common. School is quite stressful, and children need to know that they're safe. So nutrition, they need a balanced diet. We have a whole lot of obese children, so we need to work on activity as well as good diet. They need sleep. It gets less as they get older, but kids between 8 and 11 rarely go to bed without being told they need to. Exercise, we do want them involved in things, but there's some controversy about how early they should be in competitive sports. Are they really emotionally ready for the kind of demands that we put on them? We do need them to have the skills, but kids usually generally do like competition, but they need to be able to master the skills that they're going to be doing. And here they're learning new skills. It's the age of loose teeth, I said. And then injury prevention. Motor vehicle crashes are the most common thing that causes injury or death. So if they're passengers, they need to be in their booster seats still. Pedestrian and bike versus car is a big issue. So bikes, wearing helmets, any sports, they need to wear the safety gear.